I'm gonna try to keep my composure, but this comment, just breathe, Clay. Just breathe. Let's just first start with this comment. It comes from a Facebook conversation that I was having, and it was a fine conversation, and then they threw this comment at me. And in fact, I think it was a comment. I posted some losing trades that I had, just a rough morning, and we were kind of just going back and forth, having a conversation, and then this comment showed up. Like they say, you either win or you learn. First off, like they say, they are probably all the people that are out there and their wheels are just spinning in the mud. Why can't I get any consistency? Because you have this mentality. And this mentality drives me insane. It is why people fail. It is why people, I'm not gonna say blow up their accounts, but it's why people just waste so much time and their accounts just bounce up and down, maybe have a slight downwards trend to it. Because this is just a faulty mentality. And the mentality, basically this person, and I'm not trying to insult your intelligence, but they're boiling things down to win or, and within markets, you either win or what? You lose, right? Yes, you lose. And before you say, well, if I buy at 10 and then sell at 10, it's a break even. Well, no, because you have commissions associated with that, so you technically lost money. So there really is no break even. Win or lose. And this person is obviously saying, well, you either win or you learn. Meaning that you can learn from your losers, and that's when it's time to learn because you lose. And this is about as big a pile of horse crap that exists out there. Because this implies that when you lose, you have done something wrong and that there is something that needs to be learned. That's so false. That's just such bad logic. Let me say that again, because you're maybe thinking, wait a second, Clay. This mentality says that if you lose, that means you did something wrong, and when you did something wrong, you need to learn from it. No, that is false. That is false. The key thing in all of trading that is going to dictate success is this right here. Habits. What are the habits that are being put into trades? Not the results, the habits that go into them. Case in point, this person's saying, hey, you either win or it's time to learn because the opposite of winning is losing. Well, what happens if this win is actually done with just pure randomness, which a pure guess, which was that maybe something that was super risky? I mean, it's the equivalent of saying, you know what? I crossed the highway with a blindfold on and I made it. And I've used this analogy before. But because I made it, it's a win. Good, there's nothing to learn there. Really, there's nothing to learn by crossing a highway with a blindfold on. Maybe the thing to learn is that you just got totally lucky and all it takes is once and you're road pizza and it's not going to be a pretty sight. But I mean, in this person's logic, the only thing would be, well, if you get hit, then then it's time to learn. No, your whole process, your whole habit of crossing the street is what needs a lot of work. So to go out there and think that the only time you need to learn is with losing trades, so faulty. And this is why trading is tricky. This is why the failure rates are so high, because you have these mentalities which sound great. You lost. That means I did something wrong. That means I need to learn. Because yeah, that's true. When you are wrong, you do need to learn. But then it gets mixed up because people associate a loss with doing something wrong. Here's a news flash. Sometimes the market, it just doesn't work out. A trade just doesn't work out. You could have the most logical trade plan ever put into place and things just still don't work out. You didn't do anything wrong. The market just didn't go the way it normally goes. Because there's no such thing as a guarantee in the market. And if you're saying, well, Clay, that means you still did something wrong because you lost money. No, that's a false mentality. It is possible to do everything right and still lose money. It's called being disciplined. It's called, that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometime, and the market isn't always going to go your way, no matter how beautiful something may be. But on the flip side of things, again, I see this all the time. A stock is doing something like this. So let's just take an example. A stock is going up. and then somebody buys right there, and then it pulls back. But then eventually, it goes up. So here, and then they sell, let's say, just say right here. In their mind, according to this, hey, it's a win, there's nothing to learn. Actually, there is something to learn because sure, you made money, but you flat out chased the price. That's not a good habit. You shouldn't be chasing. Yes, here it worked. But let's say, they don't think there's anything to learn because, hey, it was a win. Price goes up, I shouldn't have sold right there. They buy right there, price pulls back. Then it goes up again and they sell. Again, in their mind, hey, there's nothing to learn. But maybe you're thinking, but Clay, there is actually something to learn because I see what you did right there. You had the person buy right at the top again before it pulled back. Exactly. They chased again. What is the habit? Well, the habit here is they're chasing. Sure, it's working out. Sure, they're winning. But that doesn't actually mean that they're winning in the long haul because all they're doing is forcing things and then something's going to happen. It's going to go up. They're going to buy right there. And then, however, this time it's just going to go down, down, and down. And though you're going to hold because in their mind, well, the last times I held both there and there, it worked out fine. But if that doesn't happen, it only takes one, right? You can cross the highway a bunch of times with a blindfold on, but all it takes is getting hit by that semi one time and road pizza, game over. And this happens all the time. I see it all the time. People chase, and they're terrible habits, but because something is in a very strong upwards move, the upward move bails out their bad habits. But no upward move is going to last forever. Reality is always going to show back up. And this downwards move here is reality. And when that shows up, all these little gains that they've been making, see ya. They're gone. They're gone. Because the person is focused not on what sort of habits are producing either the win or the loss, but they're just looking at things as, hey, you either win or you got stuff to learn because you lost money, which means you did something wrong. Very, very, very bad mentality. And I'm pretty proud of myself. I think I'm keeping myself composed, but I cannot stand this because I really do want to see people succeed. And this attitude is not how people succeed. It's a false viewpoint of the market. It's a false viewpoint of what trading actually is. It makes all sorts of assumptions that just aren't true. Because you could have the perfect trade and it could still turn out to be a loser, but you know what? It's actually a win. How is it a win? Because you exerted discipline. You got out when you were supposed to, and sure, maybe in hindsight, you're like, oh, I shouldn't have gotten out there. It would have worked out. Yeah, but there's going to be a time where when you break a rule and something like this happens, things are just, that's why I'm not going to say it wipes out your account, but it can wipe out a whole bunch of gains, and then your account is right back to kind of where it was, and you have the mud spinning in the wheels. So realize right now that if you take a losing trade, it doesn't mean that you did anything wrong. Now, it could very well mean you did something wrong, but it doesn't necessarily mean you did something wrong. And this is where, this is why trading is not just a walk in the park, because there is things where, did I actually do anything wrong, or is this totally a good loss because it was just a discipline loss, or was it a kind of a gambling loss because I did something that I shouldn't have done in the first place? That's why it's important to develop strategies, to make sure you're building trade plans that actually make sense. What makes sense? Well, that's why you got to learn. That's why you have to put time into education and training, because you have to figure out what makes sense. And when you know what makes sense, then you can start to build proper trade plans. And when you have proper trade plans, then you can begin to distinguish, was this a good loss or is this just a loss where I actually did do something wrong, so I do need to learn from it? On the flip side, it could be very well here. And I'll be the first to admit, I have taken wins where at this point I'm like, oh crap, Clay, that was a win, but that actually was a really bad habit. You either chased the price or you jumped in a little too soon on the pullback. And yeah, that was a win, but you got to be aware of it. I will pat myself on the back. It's taken me years to get to the point, but I fully realize I don't look at a win as, hey, I made money, therefore I win, therefore there's nothing to learn. I would argue that usually the most times to learn is when you are taking wins, because a lot of times, and I see it all the time, the habits that are producing wins, it's like, holy crap, you got a lot to learn because you are setting yourself up with some major fool's gold, and that's going to come back and eventually bite you. So in my personal opinion, I think that the most to be learned comes from winning trades, because you always want to make sure you're double checking yourself and focusing on the habits. So focus on the habits. Don't focus on wins or losses, and don't do that, okay? Focus on habits. If you are out there trading alone currently and maybe are in the market looking for a community to join to assist you in your trading or to just help you, give you another set of eyeballs, then I do have a private trading community where you can trade alongside me and other experienced traders. So what you see popping up on the screen right now is both an information link. So if you click on the inner circle one, that is going to take you to the page where I explain all the details of what exactly come with the community, both the chat room and the newsletter. And then the other image that has popped up is a behind the scenes tour where you can see exactly what is going to be contained within the community. I take you through, like I said, a behind the scenes tour of everything, and that way you'll know precisely what you are getting when you join. So definitely check that stuff out if you are interested and thinking about wanting to join a community, and let me know if you have any questions.